Frontline Chat with Harry Tanguy and Dave Wardell.
Yay! Finn, how are you? There he is.
Very good,
mate. You have no idea. I just had to run the full length of the house to get my phone because it's where I took all my notes during that music. So it was. I should have guessed it would be with Finn. Look at that. He is the most handsome dog in the world. It is officially the most handsome. Finn, the hero dog, who changed laws.
Missed this week.
Yeah, where have you been, mate? What have you been up to?
So I've been away on a course. It was in Coventry. It was outdoorsy stuff. It was stuff that I love.
Never indoors with you, mate.
No,
I think it'd be indoors.
It was very little indoors, thank goodness. Yeah, it was a tracking, but it was tracking with a difference. It was tracking without a dog. It was man tracking, bush skills, if you like.
No, did you like
absolutely wonderful.
The ground?
Yeah. I had to lick the animal's poo to see how fresh.
Did you?
No, we didn't. We didn't lick any poo, but it was amazing. It was military. It was run by the military, so it was absolutely fantastic. And the guy that was taking the course, Paul, he's so passionate. When you think about what they, the tracking that they do in the military without the dogs, I mean, it's, they're talking life-saving stuff. They're talking looking for mines and that sort of thing. So, yeah, he was very, very, very passionate about what he does. And of course, that rubs off. And it was a brilliant time, but I couldn't take Finn, so he was at home, and I kept getting updates from Gemma saying, oh, he's struggling without you, and he keeps going and checking the front door to see if you're there, and he woke her up at 5:30 every morning so that he could go down and check.
Oh no, really? Bless
so
his heart.
A lovely reunion yesterday when I got home, and he was ever
I bet. It's a trouble, isn't it, with animals? They just don't know whether you've gone for 5 minutes or ever. That's the problem.
No. So now he sat next to me, and he hasn't left me since. Bless him. What have you been up to?
Did you blow anything up? That's what I want to know. You got the army involved, and they usually like blowing things up, don't they?
No, we didn't blow anything up. There was lots of banter though, so it was. But it was hilarious. It was really
well. You were saying about we didn't lick dog poo in the end. That's what we don't do. But I said, well, if there was ARVs there, we'd be looking for the white dog poo of age. In the 80s, we'd be trying to draw with it like in crayons.
Yeah, exactly. And putting it on your face and trying to use it as suntan
camo.
Lotion.
Camo. Yeah. That's how it is. You got it. It's the quote in your book is be more dog. Is it be more dog that you got off? And it's like be more dog. It's like my wife is her problem. It's one of many. No, is that she thinks the dog is a human being, and and starts to treat it like a human being. I think you got to be more dog. She won't have it. She still talks to it as if it's a 3-year-old and stuff,
Well, if anybody who saw my video yesterday, I had a few comments saying you sounded more excited than Finn did. I was just squeaking and squealing and lots of
I didn't. You videoed it. I missed that. Oh, really?
With him and stuff. So yeah, I'm afraid I am guilty of behaving like that as well. Only because you try and do that with the kids and they're not interested. They're like, get lost. So you got to get your love somewhere.
Yeah. No, I remember a few years ago when I returned from something similar like yourself, but nothing to do with dogs or poo, is people have just tuned in now. They're going to be wondering what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But it was, I got home and my daughter walked by me as if I wasn't there. And I said, I don't mind if you don't look at me. It's the way you look through me. She was like 13 or something. And Arthur was like, Daddy, you're the best thing in the world. So
but it's the same. When I got home, Gemma was at work when I got home, but the two of the kids were there, and they helped me film the sort of reunion with Dave and Finn, and then they vanished. No idea where they went. They didn't say hello.
No, they didn't. It's almost like It's almost like, oh, your pet. The other thing that animals can do is, people will relate to this with their animals and things, is sometimes you come back expecting a big way, and it's like they jump around for about 4.5 seconds, then he just wanders off like I'm not interested. Well, you won't have that because you're a dog whisperer. But
I've got so many dogs that even if I only get 4.5 seconds from one, I can just go to the next one and the next one and the next one.
That's true. Well, the week it's been is. I listened to Prince Charles and his because I've got a affection for the royal family. I think they're all right. I've worked with them, many of them, many times, and I see the work they do, and I wouldn't do it for all the tea in China, I tell you now. But he very kindly went to the police memorial. John Apter was there, the police federation chair. Gave a really nice speech to that one, but. That was in London, I presume, wasn't it, Dave? That would have been, I think.
No, it was in Staffordshire at the Arboretum, which is a wonderful place that everybody, especially if you're connected with the police, should go. It's a very peaceful place, but it's obviously there for to remember these amazing officers. I think. Is it 4,000 since the police service started for real?
5,000. 5,000.
Right, and it's there to pay homage to them, and I think it was the unveiling of a new piece of art in the centre of the Arboretum, and like you say, the coverage was wonderful, and the words spoken by Prince Charles were incredible, and it comes at quite a it comes at quite a time for us, doesn't it? With all the services have struggled during COVID. We've been lambasted by some sides for, trying to get the public to stick to these new rules that were thrown at us as much as they were thrown at you, and no pay rise again. And so I think it was just nice to have something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Did you notice? I noticed a slight swing in the media with. I think we've beaten them down to the ground as much as we possibly can, and maybe jumping up and down on their head is going a little bit too far. Now, we've done it for a long time. Maybe we should acknowledge the fact that policing can be a little bit difficult sometimes and a little bit stressful, because I think that's really what's come across. And there was something on Jeremy Vine that with
your friend Jeremy.
there was an officer. See, this I've got to be so careful. I said female officer, and somebody said, "Why does that matter?" But she was on she was on, and she was trying to say about the pressure and stress that they were under, and that it just felt that with no pay rise, with an expected sort of 4% interest rate hike or whatever, it's going to be a massive. And it's just when everyone around them were and around you were getting pay rises and the police weren't, and it's sort of they felt, oh, okay. And I've said it's always easier to do that with the police because you're the authoritarians, you're the ones that rarely get the sympathy of people, because we usually say, don't drive so fast, stop doing that, stop getting so drunk. And it's almost like it's much better if you can. You're not going to so easily walk away from a pay rise for the nurses, who are, very much helping the public and all they can, and don't have to use quite so much sort of authoritarian stuff, stopping people doing fun things that they might want to do illegally. But
we had that before, didn't we, with previous governments and their PR, not the current government, but they kind of went on the attack for 18 months, 2 years, bringing up stuff from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and painting us to be just as bad now as anecdotes, we were then. And then
examples of
anything they then did to us after that, the public didn't kick up a fuss because they'd spent so long telling the public how horrible we were.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this poor woman, she was, you could tell she was on the edge of tears. It was just an hour. She says, the first time in my career that I actually broke down in tears between jobs. And you think that is miserable. That's someone close to the edge and they need to get to, but I'm getting it from all around the country, Dave. No specific force, but people are just exhausted at the end of their tether. And of course, they're going to make more mistakes. And of course, if you make a mistake, it's the IOPC are on your back, and it's going to be at least a 12-month, 18-month, whatever investigation. And then, lots of hoo-ha about the incident, but very little when the officers are exonerated. There's immense pressures for young officers, that especially coming through.
And I know it doesn't make headlines to say police officer found not guilty of whatever, but you would like that the press would at least do a follow-up. If they're going to use, these officers' stories and faces to fill their front pages when it on face value it appears we might have done something not right, when we're proved that we haven't, it would be ever so nice if they came back and said, police officer congratulated for doing an incredible job under difficult circumstances.
It's not page turner, is it, mate? Not page turner.
No.
And I think the things that are coming in and the things that are coming in now, that it, for me, I mean, and I haven't got a preference for any political party. I'll tell you now. I think it's all as bad. So I'm not being political in this. It worries me when they think some of the answers are to have. What's the word? When they what's the word? When you have levels to see how many fixed penalties you've done, how many crimes you've done. Get me out of this.
Bean counters.
Well, the bean counters. They're saying that now because the wheel has turned. The wheel has. It's figures and numbers, and the problem with that is it can take 3 days to sort out a mental health job where somebody nearly got murdered, and you're trying to safeguard those people using all these other agencies involved, getting them onto the straight and narrow and giving them their chance to you won't get 1 point for that. But if you go out and do 25 speeding tickets, you'll get 25 points. And we
will all have worked with people who are wonderful at manipulating
league tables. League tables. League tables is what I'm trying to think of. Sorry, Dave.
And these people aren't working any harder, or probably not working harder at all, than the people who are actually out there making the changes. The meaningful changes that you said. But like you said, the police do so many things that you can't put on a table of figures to show. Like you said, if you can actually turn a criminal round, you can't put on paper that he hasn't now committed 50 crimes in the last year. You just can't do that.
And if people have been doing stuff that they haven't got the figures with, they're going to head into town on a public order night, and there'll be a bit of public order in there. Drunken disorderlies, Section 5 public orders, causing alarm, harassment, distress, and things like that. And it's a lot of unnecessary pressure. And when it comes around again, and when it was given that, I thought, oh God, we've learned so little. And now and the OIC for each case, there is an OIC for each case as there is. But the problem we've got is the OICs have got 100 jobs to deal with, and we need more officers in there to just spread that load so that each one can be dealt with far more efficiently, with more quality of work. And they're at the end of their tethers. And I think we've really got to sort that problem. As part of that problem, I've got to say, mate, it's got to be negative, that whole negative push about how horrible the police are. How many times have you heard, Dave, I don't like the police, but you're all right, you are? Because I tell you, all my colleagues got that. That's because they are the cops,
Yeah. It's the same. I mean, we've had electricians in here and in previous houses to do work, and they've been wonderful. That doesn't mean all electricians are wonderful, but equally we've had craftsmen come in and they're rubbish. But that doesn't mean all those are rubbish. I've been on buses before when it was the smoothest ride and you were able to read your book and relax. And I've been on bus rides absolutely terrible, but that doesn't mean all bus drivers are.
It was a bit like you said earlier, it's like, Tony, we'll get off this rant in a minute and we're going to bring Kris Hitchen on because he's great. And but it is exactly the same as saying all architects are rubbish because 25 years ago a building fell down, and that's what we're still being compared to things that happened when officers today weren't even born, let alone in the job. It is hilarious.
But just one thing quickly before Kris comes on, because someone's just mentioned it about the cat killer in Brighton getting 5-year sentences. I just want to clear something up quickly. He committed those crimes before the increase in sentence, so actually he didn't get 5 years for animal cruelty, which is it's a huge shame that he wasn't charged with animal cruelty, because that would have been a violence offence against his name. Sadly, he has not been convicted of violence. He's been convicted of possession of a knife and criminal damage to, I can't remember how many cats it was, but lots of cats. And he got 5 years for that. So hopefully going forwards, if anybody was to do that sort of thing, that it would be from the increase in sentence in the Finn's Law Part 2. So just wanted to clear that up.
Fantastic. Thank you, mate. That was a really good point to make, actually. Right. Okay, well, Kris Hitchen. Kris Hitchen is an actor and writer known for the film Sorry We Missed You, The Barking Murders with Stephen Merchant and Sheridan Smith, and the film The War Below, where miners dug under the Germans' front line and laid bombs to end the deadly stalemate. That's coming up very soon this year, which I'm particularly interested in. And he's also a very nice guy. So please welcome everyone. Kris Hitchen, how are you? How are you?
I'm well, thanks. I'm well. And you know, I have to say, I don't like coppers, but you two, you're all right.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Matt.
I just sat listening and thinking, I have to come up with something wicked.
That was the perfect entrance. That was absolutely perfect.
I was going to come up with a retort about being a northerner, but I'm not going to, because then we get.
I've already used that stereotype in our world.
Yeah.
There'll be plenty of time because it's very relevant. It's very relevant, and especially in acting, isn't it? Where it used to be the very BBC actor. That's why everyone thought everyone was frightfully posh in the Second World War, you know, when in fact it just wasn't like that as well, you know. So, but yeah, Kris, I mean, and it's interesting because we had a very 5-minute check. We had a 5-minute chat about 12 just to check the lines and things, and our Wi-Fi was atrocious, you know.
Yeah, I've moved. I don't know whether you can tell. I've had to keep my wife out of the lounge and run an Ethernet cable.
Well, I said, oh, you did the Ethernet cable. My son said, well, Dad, we need to reset because I'm on 4G because mine's rubbish. So I'd reset, and then it was one of those that takes ages and ages to come back. It is a little bit better, so we'll hope. But apologies, everyone, if we sometimes have a little bit of worrying, but we should be okay now, hopefully. Kris, you're fascinating, actually, quite interesting, because you're fascinating. That's much better, because you had a very interesting start to your acting career, because it sort of started when you were 8 years old in the youth theatre, didn't it? And yeah. I think, wasn't it your auntie that used to take you there because your parents were working hard?
My gran.
Your gran.
Yeah, my gran, yeah.
Because your parents were working hard, weren't they?
Yeah, of course, yeah. It's what you say, Dave.
I was saying, go on, tell us about it. What happened? How did you get into it?
No, I used to stay at my gran's at the weekends because my mum was a cleaner at some offices in Manchester, and my dad was on a training course to become a plumber because he was originally a painter and decorator. So my sister used to go to these classes along with my cousin, and I used to go and I used to just sit and watch. They were actually ballet classes. So, and then the teacher said to my dad, when my dad came and picked us up, he can join in if he wants. He doesn't have to pay. So the following week I joined in, and I was better than all the girls in the class because I'd spent that long sitting and watching them. I'd worked out all the dance moves. So yeah, and that was how it all started. And then I got bullied at school for being a ballet dancer, so I packed it in.
Didn't the teacher make a comment about you being better than all the other people that had been there, you know, working away at it because you were able to? You're able to see.
Yeah, just salt it in. Yeah. Well, some people are like that, though, aren't they? Some people learn by watching.
Yeah, I do.
That's how I learned plumbing, because my dad's a plumber. I just went to work with him, and I watched him and my uncle, and I taught myself everything just by watching them.
So you're sort of very similar Billy Elliot type thing, really, because you had that peer pressure just stopped you in your tracks with that, and I suppose you learned a lot. It's a shame you have to, but you learned a lot because I'm sure that teasing and bullying or whatever went on a little bit. And you had to give up something you really enjoyed. And
I did, yeah. And I didn't realize how big a part of my life it was, and how big a part of my life it was going to become until I got to 40. Because, you know, previous to that, I had gone back and had a crack at acting again in you know, when I was a teenager. Yeah. And then I joined a different school, so I had to be one of the lads. So I had to start trying to fit in with a new crowd of lads and stuff. So, and and I think when you grow up and you're doing that, especially, you know, the places I've grown up, you learn to don a mask very quickly. You learn to be like that really quickly. Yeah. So you learn to kind of hide who you really are, and which is great for acting as you get older, because you can naturally slip in and out of these aggressive characters very, very easily, because you've learned to act all your life to try and get yourself out of getting your teeth kicked in. So, you know, but
I was saying, go on, Dave.
You went off and had a business and everything. So what was it that made you go, I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't me. How did that come about?
Depression. Basically, that was it. Yeah, it just all got a bit too much. I think when you start building a business, you have these ideas of being the next Richard Branson, but not with the rocket ship. So, and you kind of like think that's what you're going to do. And when you're young, you really go for it. So in my 30s, I really, really went for it in a big way. And I had quite a few lads that were working for me and stuff. But then I was so miserable because of the amount of time that I was giving up just to earn everybody else money. That's how I started looking at it, and I thought, I can't do this anymore. Could drop dead tomorrow. Yeah. So
part of that, you gave up some clients so you had more time, and you got a voluntary job, didn't you? Helping in the community with that. Was that acting? Was that?
No. The way it came about was there was a company I used to subcontract to, and they'd made all the staff redundant. And in doing so, they ended up with like 13 million in this pot. And the guy that owned the company, Sir John Hall, who used to be the owner of Newcastle United, he put all this money back into a trust account for everybody that worked there. So every year you'd have a pension, you'd have some health benefits, and there were other things that came with it. So, and then they set up this scheme called the Life Program, and you could go away for a week and rediscover yourself. So I at that point, I was just coming up to my 40th birthday, and I thought, I think this is kind of like what I need to do because of where I were emotionally. So I went away for a week, and I did nothing but cry for a full week because I was just so I was just in bits. Yeah. And I came back, and when I came back, I said to my wife, like you said before, I'm getting rid of my clients. I'm going doing something I want to do. She said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I don't know, but I'll work it out. I'll work it out. We'll be all right."
So brave.
I'll sell my golf clubs and some fishing rods and stuff if we run out of money. I really, really wasn't bothered. Yeah. And then I started doing voluntary work at a youth club up here in Bolton. And it was this one kid, I took him to some acting classes to try and help him not be as boisterous, because I thought it'd be a good idea. He only went once, and I took him, and he was in, and I was stood outside. And while I was stood outside, I started crying because it got a grip of me, everything that I'd missed out on from being a little kid. Because of everything that I'd done, I was like, oh, this is actually it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And that was it. I started doing extra work on TV shows, and then got speaking to people, and then I ended up landing lucky. I went doing some classes in Manchester, and it all just went from there. So
you got an amazing
then, yeah,
I did all right.
So are we talking about Sorry We Missed You, and when you got that role in this film with a very well-known director, Ken Roach.
Ken Loach.
Ken Loach. Did you hear that? Well-known actor called Ken Roach, and I completely messed it up. Ken Loach. And did you? Yeah,
I'm going to text him.
You'll
text him now and tell him.
Industry again, Harry.
He says, I know that Harry Wangi. Yeah. But your first contact with Ken, as I know him, wasn't it? Didn't you go onto the set and it was cold and miserable or whatever, and that you was it something where you met? I can't remember. It was where you were to see whether you had a part. You said, "Look, I can earn more money with this if I was back at plumbing," and you left because you were cold, wet, and miserable.
Yeah, basically, yeah. How do you find this stuff out? I must have told. I must have. Yeah,
your record. It's
clean, isn't it? Squeaky clean.
Yeah,
it is. It is now, Chris. Okay.
No, you're right. There was a lad who was a bass guitarist in a jam tribute band. And he was kipping on our settee. And he says, "Oh, I've got to go to Sheffield, go and do this audition for this film thing." And I went, "Oh, right." And I was in work with my dad that morning. So I drove round to my dad's, and when I got there, my dad was taking his time having his cup of tea and his toast, and I ended up having a massive fight with him at the back of the van because it was him all over. He just used to take the piss all the time. Every morning he would do the same thing, and I'd be like, "Come on, we need to get on this job." So yeah, I ended up going back home, and I said to Matt, I says, "I'll take you to Sheffield." So I drove into Sheffield to this audition, and he went in with his mates out of the band, and I was sat outside just having a glass of orange waiting. And then Ken popped his head out and said, "Do you want to come in?" And I went, "Oh yeah, all right." And I just went in, did a bit of stuff, and then I got a phone call a couple of weeks later off some agent in Doncaster, and they're interested in you for the lead role. They want you to go back and see him again. And I was like, "Oh, all right." So I went back, and then I went back a third time, and then obviously they didn't pick me, but it's Film 4 were putting the money in, so they wanted a face, they wanted a known actor, so that was the end of that. But
what film was that one? Sorry,
the Navigators.
Okay,
the Navigators.
Yeah.
So Ken got in touch with me, and he says, "Look, I'm really sorry with what's happened, but I still need to come on set, and if I can squeeze you into the film somehow, I will do." So I was like, "Right, okay, yeah, fine." Excuse me. So I've just had a big coffee. So I went to Sheffield, and it was pissing it down. And I drove all the way there from 4 a.m. as well. I was shattered. And we're on set, and I'm watching everything going on. And anyway, we did the first morning. I remember I went for lunch. Ken was sat on his own, and I thought, why is he sat on his own? Because I didn't know there was like this etiquette thing. So there's never any etiquette with me. I don't care who you are. If I want to come and sit with you, I'll come and sit with you. So I went over and sat with him.
What's the etiquette? Did you not go and sit with
there's just this bullshit etiquette thing that they have. And it's just ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? It drives me crazy.
It's a bit what you've got round you, Dave. Everyone's scared to sit next to you because,
Yeah, it's like... it's like crewing past and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's all this supposedly an hierarchy, and the truth is, there actually isn't. I've not been on any jobs where there is, because everyone just wants to get the job done, don't they? So, but I went and sat with him, and I'm chatting to him, and he's like, "So how are you finding it?" And I says, "Well, I'll be dead honest with you, Ken. It's pissing it down. I'm bored out of my mind. And for what I'm getting paid, I can earn twice as much back at home with my dad plumbing, so I'm not coming in tomorrow." And he went, "Right, okay." And that was it. Done.
Now, you clearly made an impression on him. First of all, to invite him around the first time. But secondly, not to go, "Well, I can't rely on him. He probably won't turn up again for sorry I missed you," sort of thing, So you clearly made an impression on him still with that, because things developed there, didn't it? And you eventually, very quickly. So you started probably properly again in when you were 40. And it's really important to note that where you went and you cried for a week sort of thing, people would go, "Oh, those things don't work." But it set you on a path, didn't it?
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah,
And,
I mean, like, when I went, I was tipping 17 stone. I was drinking 8 cans a night. I was eating all the wrong stuff. I was constantly angry. And then I come back and like, the thing is what they said to me is it's all right turning up, but you've got to show up. And if you show up, then we can help you. You can take on board.
When it comes to your acting, you clearly do. I read an article by, I guess she's a friend of yours. She was your voice, or late. You first met her when she fitted the shower, but later became your
Claire.
voice coach. Yeah, Claire. Yeah, she said that he's still the only pupil to make me well up when reciting a sonnet. So there's clearly something in you that you've got this huge ability, and it just floods out.
Yeah, you've had Karen Enthorn on, haven't you?
Yeah.
Karen, I mean, she taught me. I did a lot of work with Karen, and she said the one thing that you've got that not a lot of actors have got is you've got a brutal honesty about you. And if you're not scared of being totally honest and showing how you feel and just saying it, then you'll do well, because a lot of actors have had training, and you can't train somebody to be like that. So
No, and I think, don't you think you starting later has helped with that as well, because you've managed to get all these emotions and experience stress, pressure. you know, your family relying on you and you having to make a decision saying they either have a manic depressive drunk eating the wrong food who's plumbing and providing money for them, or they get someone, and I risk it, I might have to flog my fishing rods, but I might get into a film like you did. And you're
I did. I sold my golf clubs and my fishing rods. Honestly, I bought them all back now. You won't see the clubs I've got now.
You gotta. So, but part of that, and it's probably Karen as well. Did you do a cancer research advert that really? I have tried to find it, but it's all to do with this anchoring thing. That you turn up and you've got to get into that. You're going for the audition, and you've got to get into that mode straight away. And that's the skill, isn't it? You can't just turn up. You've got to show up. You know.
Yeah.
You've got to show up. You've got to turn up. And so, what's this sort of anchoring thing that you did? Are you able to describe that at all?
Well, when I went for life coaching, it was one of the life coaches is ex special forces. So, and he was like, you know, there's breathing techniques. There's lots of different techniques for relaxing yourself and putting yourself in a certain state of mind. But like, you know, this anchoring technique, it was, you connect a particular emotion to either an object. And what I used to do originally was I used to press my thumbnail into the skin of my finger there if I wanted to start triggering emotions. So I would kind of like meditate and think about really sad things, but keep that held there. Right. So then if I wanted to get upset, then that's how I would do it. That was my way of trying to use anchoring techniques to, you know, to anchor a physical movement or a physical object to an emotion. Because
it relates it. It's almost like it's almost like self-induced PTSD, if you like. You relate
exactly right
to an emotion. Yeah, and that's exactly funny. Right. But not only that, I am so tempted to turn this camera around and show you my 22-year-old son in his dressing gown still. But
we've all been there. We've all been there.
but he hasn't got a can of Tennent's with him, so he's all right at the moment. But as well as that, and something that I really need to do is there's that training I talked to you earlier about, that training how to be still. I gesticulate a lot, and I'm lots of this and movements. And if you're acting, you can't do that if you're close to camera, can you? If you realize that you talk and emphasize a syllable. So you've learned how to do that, haven't you? But also you were mentioning about some voice coaching as well.
Yeah, well, actually, I did the voice coaching with Claire, who wrote that article. Yeah. So I did that with her. That was where I started learning about poetry and William Shakespeare, who I'd never even been interested in whatsoever. Why would a lad from Salford even be asked about reading William Shakespeare? It's never going to happen, is it? But yeah, when I started reading it, it was Sonnet 18 that she's on about, which is the love letter from him to his wife. And when I read it, I just got it. I got it straight away. I knew what it was about. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really did something to me.
I remember watching some of your it was a red carpet do for Sorry We Missed You, and you said you knew that if you were going to get a big break, if you were lucky enough to get a big break in the industry, it would have to be through Ken or someone like Ken. I mean, he's a legend. I like the way you just slip into conversation that you work with Ken Roach, but he's an absolute legend. And the films he makes and the way he makes them, I think you said in your article with Claire that, you know, his hands-off approach when he's directed is something that you've never seen before. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, and the funny thing is it really helps you moving forward, because the things that Ken, he didn't. Do you know what? This is how he's really, really clever, because he never puts anything on you. He never teaches you. It's never a lesson. It lets you breathe, and that in itself is the lesson, because the confidence of you doing the movements that you're doing and saying the things the way you're saying them. He used to always say, there's no right and there's no wrong way of saying it. You just say it. However you feel, with whatever's going on, whatever that person says to you, and whatever that invokes, use that energy and give it them back. And so it was really... It's really liberating.
You got little bits of script and you didn't know what the other people's script were. So when you reacted to it, it was the first time you'd heard it.
Yeah.
And it was a real reaction. Yeah.
So what I do now in my preparation for jobs is I write my lines down. I learn my lines. I don't care what anybody else is saying. I'm not interested. I don't care where the rest of the story's going. I'm not bothered in the slightest. A lot of actors always they go before and after, so they want to know what the previous circumstances were and what the circumstances are that they're going to be moving into in the arc, the character arc. But we don't. None of us plan. None of us plan anything. We live our lives moment by moment. So for you to be a natural, realistic actor, why would you know what that character is going to say to you? You wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't have a clue. So the minute they say it, it has to be like it's the first time you've heard it, so that you spontaneously react. And the danger with that is you can only ever do that on probably the first take. And then after that, it's acting. After that, it's acting. But if on the first take you don't get a note off the director, you go, right, I got it right the first time. I'm just going to stick with that. So you just carry on with it. So it's like instinctive acting, isn't it? So that's what I do. So
I know we're talking about stuff that you've already done. We'll get on to talking about stuff that's coming up, because flipping hell, you look like you've been a busy man. But going back to that film, because I'm not lucky enough to have watched it, but I've tried to put as many clips together as I can, and I'm desperate to watch it, but I just can't find it anywhere. But such a gritty film, and tells so many stories that are pertinent to life now. You know, how we're living in this really bizarre minute-to-minute world almost.
I mean, and then Ken Roach is very much involved in that more society, social ill wills, and I mean, this is particularly about, for anyone who hasn't heard of it, is Sorry We Missed You, is, as the phrase says, is like a courier company, and it's about 0-hour contracts, and it's about a guy who is Kris, who's trying to bring his family up. And it's the fact that he joins the company and being told it's, you know, we're all one big happy family, and then he finds he's getting fined even for things he can't help with, and it's just keeping that roof on all those little. It's the small print, wasn't it, Kris, that can happen that you think, oh, this is a good job, I'll do it, and then you find that actually there's so many ways that they can give you less money.
But all jobs are like that. All jobs are like that. You never turn up to a job interview and the guy interviewing you says, "You're late working here, it's shit." Do you know what I mean? Nobody ever says that, do they? They always sell it, and it's when they sell it too much, you should think, hang on a minute. There's something not quite right here. So, but
then the contrast. Well, this is really interesting. We couldn't leave here without mentioning the Cannes Festival, which you turned up late to because you were working in the UK.
Yeah, it was.
But it was quite an irony, wasn't it? As you looked around Cannes and you're in your Cannes Festival, because you already relate to the fact that anyone can sit next to me, or I'll sit next to anyone, sort of thing. Oh, you know, how did it make you feel there at Cannes? What was the irony there, do you think?
Do you know what? It was a number of things. It was like, because it was like a really, God, it's going to sound really terrible saying this. It's a really big deal to a lot of people, but I turned up and I just thought I'd rather be sat in the beer garden with my mates. Do you know what I mean? It was just, and I know it's a really horrible thing to say, and I can say the same about the BAFTAs as well, because I've been there, but I just think that pomp and ceremony thing, it isn't, who's it actually for? Who is it actually for? It's just for, I think it's for really wealthy socialites who want to be seen hanging around with so-called celebrities. You know, I'm surprised there weren't half of the Towie lot knocking around there when we were there. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if anybody can get anywhere where you get a bit of limelight.
Walking around seeing all these billionaires' boats, thinking, if you sold that, you could deal with that. If you sold that, you could deal with that's going on in the world. And you know, it's
that's me not going to the Oscars, isn't it? I shouldn't have said that.
But for me, Kris, that's all right. No one watches this. Okay, fine. Kris, but for me, it's because you were saying you come across, you're very honest, and that makes your acting much easier. It must be. It's so much. I mean, I know my just the Twitter account, for example, this minor tiny thing that I do here is just being honest and not being afraid that you might look a little bit silly sometimes, is just so relieves the stress. It stops all the stress. I just have to keep pretending that I'm a roughy, toughy copper sort of thing and nothing affects me. And no one wants a complete sop, but it's that sort of thing. Where do you think that those things are all about bravado and pretense? Because that's what sells. You have to show the perfect world, don't you? And you're going in thinking, I'd rather just be myself. My mate's down there down the, having
but the thing is though, is I've been really fortunate. All the different actors that I've worked with, and some of them are like massive high profile actors as well. They're just like you and I. They're just really chilled out and dead normal and stuff. So this seems to be. Well, I don't know who it is who's creating this.
It's the same.
This image.
It's just the reason Harry and I do what we do, and this show and our Twitter, is because we were a bit fed up of people thinking that cops were horrible, and we're not. We're normal. I hurt the same as you, and my police dog got bad. That's how I ended up on social media. And I cried openly on screen, and people were like, "Blimey, he's real. He's not whatever painted."
But I found during VIP protection, I find royalty, government officials have got all the insecurities. I mean, you sort of respect the position people in. But I've been belly laughing with Lord Lieutenants, in the back of the car, because you can talk about something, so you're not say, "Hey, all right, Jim," that shows disrespect to the position that they're in. But you can still be yourself. You can be honest, and you can judge where it is. If I'm walking up the road with a prime minister, and I judge how it can go, but I still put in a little bit of a one-line joke. It was a bit how my son had gone to a citizens thing where they go for a couple of weeks, and it was really valuable. It really taught them about charities, and they had to raise some money and together. And I said to it was David Cameron, I'll tell you, I said, "Oh, thanks for you got rid of my kids for 50 quid a week. I'm really grateful to that sort of thing." You can sort of say that, and then we had a short conversation about what it actually achieved and stuff.
NCIS, is that what you're on about?
Yeah, look at
I was a coach on it.
Were you? That's what you were.
Yeah. Oh,
it was really, really
strangle
good.
Half of them. Drove me crazy. Here's the thing about 16 and 17-year-old lads and girls when you get them together all in one place and there's only 5 adults looking after them.
Yeah.
They either want to fuck or fight each other, and that's the bottom line. And you're stuck in the middle, and you can't say anything. You can't say anything because you're supposed to be the adult.
Yeah. And that's where you need Taser. Taser is very helpful. It's a very effective item. Yeah. We've got to come on to the World War I story, the war below. This is coming up, isn't it? Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, well, it follows the story of William Hackett and Hellfire Jack. And Hellfire Jack comes up with the idea of we can mine underneath the German trench system and plant some explosives. So he approaches a mining team from a small Lancashire, Yorkshire border town, and he speaks to William Hackett, who's like the leader of our little brigade of people. So we all decide that we're going to go because we're all mates and we all live in the same village. So we all go together and we end up eventually tunneling away and finding our way underneath the German trench system. And we plant the biggest bomb in history at I think it's the Battle of Messines.
Yeah,
it is. And it's a massive. There's still a massive crater there to this day. But that was a great job to work on. I love that. And that was like I think that was like my second or third job after Sorry We Missed You. And I was like, this is really cool. I'm not a van driver anymore. I'm now I'm in the period piece. So I loved it.
It was real life. This happened. I remember hearing stuff on it. It was real life, and they did take miners, didn't they? And
it's a true story. Yeah. I mean, William Hackett and Hellfire Jack are actually real people. We all played real people that had been, that had been around at that time doing it.
When is that out, Chris? Do you know?
Well, it's an American production company that produced it, and they were going to release it, and then they missed the release date because they just wanted to get everything really, really perfect with the sound mix and the color grading, because a lot of it was shot outside. There's a lot more It's not like a studio job. They're easier to put together.
Yeah.
So they took quite a while doing it, putting it together, and then they got the promotional side done, and then they did a DVD release in parts of Europe. And they were hanging fire to do the UK cinema release, and then obviously COVID at the beginning of the year, and that's when it was supposed to come out. And then they were looking at putting it into the Edinburgh Film Festival as well, which is in a couple of weeks, but I think they've missed that as well. So we really don't know. In fact, me and the lads are all in a little WhatsApp group, so we speak to each other about it, and we're all like, "When's it coming out?" I mean, we've all seen it. So all we do is watch ourselves and then complain that we're all terrible. So that's the worst thing when you're an actor. Don't watch yourself. It's the worst thing you can do.
Well, I mean, I when I watch this, I find myself doing this a lot, and I find myself, and
I try and give Harry feedback, but he doesn't listen.
It's terrible. I'm thinking, my God, I wouldn't watch me. I tell you, bloody hell. I know it's all for Dave.
Yeah, you're doing another military, some filming with another military story at the moment, aren't you? Where you're an Explo bomb disposal team. You still filming that, or is that finished now?
No, it's still going. In fact, I'm there. I think I'm shooting on Tuesday. So
is that Trigger Point? Trigger Point.
Yeah, Trigger Point. Yeah, with Vicky McClure. So it's the team that were behind producing and writing Line of Duty. So it's the same people, but they got a different writer. It's great. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant script. It's amazing. It's really. Wow.
Are you able to say what you're doing there? Sorry, Dave.
I'm part of the Expo team.
Yeah.
Right. So Vicky's character's Lana, and she's in the Expo team, and I'm in the Expo team, and we're both trying to get the same thing. Can't really say much.
No, okay.
There's a big terrorist bombing campaign that's going on around London. Right. So
I've just finished a week's training with the military, and there was, bomb disposal and search and tracking teams and stuff like that. And they're mad as a box of frogs, but they're so passionate about what they do. And I don't know whether they had researchers, where they had people on there saying, this is what we do. That's how we do it. That's what we would do there. But if you have, that means you've worked with the military boys and girls, and you'll know that. For me training with them last week, it was all a bit of fun and a good giggle, and they do make it as much of a crack as they can. But when they're out there doing that job, it's life and death. If I get something wrong, it doesn't really matter. If you get something wrong, they can do another take, unless it's Ken Roach and he won't let you. If a carpenter or a plumber gets something wrong, you just go and get another bit of kit. But if those boys and girls get something wrong,
that's it. And we did a day of training. I went and did the day's training. It was me and Adrian Lester actually who went on the training for the day. And obviously Adrian's always been an actor, and I've got a mechanical and electronic background, so we're fiddling with boilers and things like that for years. So, and when Joel, the Bomb Expo guy, is putting these devices together, I'm just looking at him and thinking, that's just a dead basic series circuit. That's easy, that. And I ended up saying to him, I says, well, what about if you create a drop circuit, if you put a solenoid on it, so when the power's away, then it activates it. And by the end of it all, he said, you could probably build bombs. And I went, yeah, I probably could. but it comes from understanding mechanical engineering, you see. So funny.
Exactly. I'd love to have heard that conversation. That was fantastic.
Well, Adrian Lester's just stood there looking at me like, what's going on? I can just stick to the acting.
You didn't do any messages via text, because if you did, then I'm afraid MI5 are going to be all over you.
No.
GTHQ are probably listening to this right now, thinking, right, we need to keep an eye on Kris.
No, I think he's far more interesting people than me. So
See, in my day, when I was 12-year-old, it was only weed killer and sugar mixed in scaffolding tubes, but no solenoids in that. I tell you, that's probably why it put me in hospital.
Oh no, I don't know how to put the stuff together. I just know what a solenoid does. I was just trying to act really intelligent.
See, I never have known what a solenoid does. I did all my mechanics in my cars for 20 years, and I still don't understand what a solenoid does. But we'll leave that lesson for later. What is the most? What is something that is completely unimportant that you like to do just to get away from it? And you're not allowed to say fishing or golf. Is there anything that you've done to stay sane, or any interest of yours? Because if I was asked this, I'd sound very dull.
Well, do you know what? I love. I have Discovery Plus, for streaming. Love it. I love it.
Oh,
I watch
really?
Gold Rush, Deadliest Catch.
Yes.
Just started watching Billy Buys Brooklyn. That's brilliant. I love any of those kind of shows. They're just great.
One of my favourites, and I even managed to get my wife into it. She's not interested in any of those sorts of shows. Outback Truckers. I thought it was amazing.
I've not seen it yet. Not seen it yet.
Worth a watch.
But I like watching them, especially Deadliest Catch, because you get to see a whole gamut of emotions that these people go through, and they're American as well, so it really helps me with trying to tune an American accent and stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not great.
One thing I also want to know, because people might think it's very serious stuff and all that, but when you were in the, especially when you were with your acting family in Sorry, I Missed You, or Sorry, We Missed You, was it? See, this is my memory. Sorry, We Missed You. You used to play
Ken Roach.
Tricks. Yeah, by Ken Roach. No. Do you know what? I've written that twice in here.
You're never going to live it down, eh?
Where did I get that from?
Never going to live it down.
I'm not. I was dragged up, me, Chris. Not like you. I was dragged up.
Yeah.
But I didn't go to any ballet lessons. I didn't go to ballet lessons.
They were free. They were free, Harry.
You got your. I just turned up to work and shot guns at pieces of cardboard. But you used to play little tricks on your family, on your wife and 2 kids, didn't you?
We do it all the time.
Yeah, it's certain things, because you only got bits of script, one bit at a time, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I think you used to wind them up a little bit and say
I used to say it.
The next day.
Yeah. You're not supposed to be in today. I've read the next bit, and you die tomorrow. And I'm going to run over you in the van and all this kind of stuff. And
I think you had them say. You were saying, "Oh, yeah, we all win the lottery at the end, and it's a real nice."
That's right, that's right,
as well.
I know.
So
there's worse tricks than that, though, that we play. When I was filming on Anne Boleyn, James Artness and I roomed in the same hotel together.
Duke of Norfolk, were you?
Yeah. Which was a really big shift from being a lad from an estate in Salford. Really big shift.
Yeah.
But me and James, we just hit it off. It was just crazy. But we started playing the scare game on each other, so we would hide around the corners in the hotel and stuff. And so he'd text me and say, "Are you coming outside? Are you coming for a walk or whatever?" So I'd go outside, and he'd be behind the door, and it got ridiculous. We were pinching each other's stuff on set and hiding it, and that was a scream. That job was hilarious.
Yeah,
it gets out of hand, because on our response section, every time there's this guy he would just get him every single time, and you'd think he'd be prepared. And at one point he was worried about entering the station because he knew it was going to come, and even though he was prepared, he knew he was going to scream like a girl. I know I'm probably not allowed to use that phrase, but that's probably true. And they used to hide in lockers, and they said, "Right, everyone, lights off." It usually lights off. You'd on a night shift, and you'd have 6 armed response guys hidden under cupboards behind chairs and stuff like that, waiting for him to come in. And he just gets out of hand. We've got to do something bigger and better next time.
It's fine until he reaches for his handgun and slots you.
Yeah.
It's all right. He was a bad shot anyway. He'd only winged us. He'd be all right.
Oh God.
So you do. What do you think? What situation you think you'd have been then if you hadn't been an actor? Like, because it's down to Ken Loach, right, as well, that gives you these opportunities. And now that's hopefully the door's open, because you've certainly got stuff this year. What would you have been doing otherwise? Would you have stayed in heating engineering or plumbing, or because you gave your company, haven't you given your company to your son now or something? Or
we've shut it now. We tried that. Right. Yeah, it's shut now. Yeah, I did. Yeah, and do you know what? Fair play to him. I mean, he's 27 now, but at the time he was like 23, something like that, and it was quite a lot. Yeah, because they had built a monster of a company. So,
really,
but it was too much for him, and he wasn't happy. And I thought, why am I putting my son, who I love, through everything that I've just ran away from? Yeah. That's not the right thing to do, is it? So I said to him one day, and do you know what? He stuck in there because he didn't want to let me down, but it was actually me that had let him down by thrusting it upon him, because I saw it as my fail safe. If it didn't work out, I could go back and do it.
Yeah.
So, you know, through my selfishness,
it's working out. It is working out for you, which is incredible.
Yeah, of course.
You spoke about it earlier about sort of practicing the American accent. So clearly, I mean, you know, most people say if you want to really go for it, you've got to go and break America. So is that on the horizon? Are you've obviously worked with some big names now. You talked about Colin Farrell and people like that who've made it out there. So is that next?
Well, I've got 2 jobs that are out there in the States at the moment. So in fact, Colin States. I know. Yeah, I'm only in it a little bit. But you know what they say? There's no small parts, only small actors.
Yeah, well, I mean, like the British actors that have gone out there and been huge, and they have been, you know, the bodyguard of the main actor in the role, and they've got no speech. You're there, and you're like, oh, I remember you from blah, 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 EastEnders, Corrie, whatever it might be.
No, I know, I know.
You know, it's if you're in the door, mate.
I think the thing is now though with the American market, they shoot so much of it over in Budapest and Prague, Romania. Eastern Europe, they shoot loads of it. South Africa, we've got a mate who's in South Africa at the minute. He's been out there for months. They shoot loads of it over here now. So they want British actors, but they want a British actor with an American accent to play the part of like a colonel or some crazy scientist, you know. So really for British actors, we've got to, I think for a British actor to nail an American accent, it's easier than it is for an American actor to nail a British actor, because they all sound like Dick Van Dyke when they do it. So and instantly we go, nobody speaks like that. So we all know. And we've all been fed things like Goodfellas and Scarface and all that stuff growing up for donkey's years. So we're used to hearing it. So
but people are saying, I heard something recently where a lot of northern accents are slowly disappearing because everyone's just listening to YouTube, Netflix, and they tend to be at home a lot more rather than socializing on bicycles and skateboards with their mates and stuff. So there's a worry that accent's going to be lost, you know?
Yeah, we're becoming standardized, aren't we? Yeah. So, which is an accent in its own now.
You still live up north, but you're from Salford and you live in Bolton.
I live in Bolton. Yeah.
So have you still got people back in Salford? Do you go home, as it were?
Oh, yeah, well, it's only down the road.
Yeah,
it's down the road. It's down there.
Oh,
That's what Peter Kay does. That's what Peter Kay does, isn't it?
Yeah, I reckon, Chris. Dave, I reckon he's got he's got villas in Miami and stuff, but he just turns up to show he's a Bolton lad still. I know, you know the tricks they do. Yeah, tricks they do. Someone saying Keanu Reeves is it Bram Stoker's Dracula? Oh my God, his British accent was horrible, but you do feel for them. It is. I don't know.
It's tough. I watch things with top quality British actors in, and they're doing an accent, you know, a dialect from a particular part of the country. And I shudder because I could hear it, and I'm like, oh. But even when I've done tapes and sent them in, you know, my Scottish and Yorkshire, and obviously Mancunian and Liverpool and stuff like that, it's great. I can nail them. I can do quite a lot of regional accents, But you know, sometimes when I do a tape for an audition and I play it back, I go, oh, I can't send that. I just moved Cornish. From. Yeah, well, Cornish is easy, isn't it? Cornish.
No, it's not. I can't do it. I'm Cornish and I can't do it because
like Cornish is more like a Bristol accent, isn't it? You know, it's going around and all that.
Hey,
and they even do that when they talk as well, you know.
I'm sorry, but you need to go back to your lessons about keeping your id still. You know.
Yeah, I know. That was my impression of Vicky Pollard. That's what that
was. That is. I can't.
Harry,
I can't.
Harry,
yeah.
We're going to be sat here in a few years' time going, oh my God, have you seen? He's in that movie. He's in that massive.
I know.
One of the main characters of that big. He won't speak to us now. He spoke to us back then.
Yeah,
I know.
Terrible.
It'll be. I tell you, my daughter. Just going. My daughter and my son are Devonshire. You know, and she's quite well spoken. She went to grammar school and things like that, and she was. You know, until she says the word fiver. And then she says, anyway, it cost me a fiver. And we're like, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah, it's a strange one. I had to do a film in Great Yarmouth, and I went up there and we started shooting, and they got us a lad who lived in the area to coach me. And initially they said, "Oh, your older brother's from this area. Do you want to meet him?" So I met this guy called Bobby, who was a bit of an hippie, and my character's like an absolute knobhead who just wants to murder everybody. And this old guy comes in and he's an hippie, and I'm listening to his accent, trying to tune it in. So when he's talking like that, like really relaxed and stuff, man. And I'm thinking, I can't use his accent for the character. It never works. So anyway, I adopted an hybrid of it, and then we got COVID and it broke. So then I had to come back to filming. But just before I came back to filming, I'd been out to Bristol and shot a little couple of days on a short film in a Bristol accent, which is totally different to Yarmouth.
I know,
and people from Yarmouth hate it if you roll your R's, because that's what they do in Bristol. Whereas in Yarmouth, they don't. They just Yarmouth. There's no rolling of an R. So I was like, all the way, like through 5 weeks of filming, constantly every day, trying to remember, don't roll the R, don't roll the R. It was a nightmare.
It's hard enough. Surely it's hard. Surely you just think, no, just give me a part with my own accent. Is all that stress gone then? You know.
I've got accent now. I'm from London.
It's you've got to be versatile, isn't it? You've got to be versatile. And
yeah, you have.
Yeah. Accent. Give
and do you say?
I don't know. I don't even know how to get into a London accent. There you go, mate. How's that for you?
Hey!
That's kind of like, no, hang on, no, it's going like. Are we going like then? What am I doing? See, this is the thing, right? You know, when people say to you, oh, I'll put you on the spot, let's say some of your accents. Now, there's people out there, right, that will rattle through like 20 accents one after the other, because they have set phrases that they say for each accent. So it's very easy to do. But when
Jimmy Carr did it on Graham Norton, yeah. He was getting Antonio Banderas to do it because he's got a thick Spanish accent or whatever.
Spanish accent, yeah.
He was getting him
See, I can't do any accent. I can't do any accent. But it's exactly what you're saying.
Neither can I, according to my agent. Neither can I, according to my agent.
It's doing those phrases. My sister-in-law's dad, God rest his soul, but he's Brummie. Well, she's Brummie. And he's real strong Brummie, and he used to say, "All right, Daddy," and it's that. Mate, that's the only. He said, "What a good."
Sounds like Zig and Zag. It sounds like Zig and Zag. Do you remember them?
I'm just gonna make it.
Zig and Zag were Brummies, weren't they? I don't know. One was West Indian and one was Brummie. Zig and Zag, yeah.
This is I would fit with that, and with that, we're utter humiliation for me. This entire thing, with special thanks to Ken Roach and Loach, and Kris. You've been an absolute star. We are over time. We're over time. Please just stick around. Stick around for 2 seconds afterwards when and we just say formal goodbye. And thanks everyone for sticking around, and we will see you. We'll see you next week. Stand by. Cheers.